I've used a lot of meal services, but Hungry Root truly stands out because it's built around the way real families live and eat. They don't just send meal kits. They personalize your grocery cart and meal plan based on your preferences and dietary goals. All I had to do was take a short quiz, and right away, their smart cart technology started building a cart that fit how we eat. Now, each week feels easier, like someone else is doing the thinking for me. I've been focused on cleaner eating lately, and I love that Hungry Root keeps out over 200 additives, including things like high fructose corn syrup and artificial sweeteners. Their meats are hormone and antibiotic free, and the produce options include organic and non GMO picks. They also stock brands I already trust, like Oatly, Vital Farms, and Harmless Harvest. One of our favorite meals has been the teriyaki salmon with green beans, light, flavorful, and done in 12 minutes flat. Plus, I've noticed we waste less food, spend less time shopping, and even save money by skipping those impulse grocery buys. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Dr. Meg and use code Dr. Meg. That's hungryroot.com/Dr. Meg. Code Dr. Meg to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/Dr. Meg. Code Dr. Meg.
This is Parenting Great Kids with Dr. Meg Meeker.
I do identify as an alcoholic because to me it says, oh, I'm this thing. It's like my sons are allergic to nuts, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, they're allergic to nuts. So now we know what to do. We're going to carry an EpiPen and not eat nuts. And we have set up a lifestyle that around that, right? So to me, it's like that. Like it really helped for someone to label me. That's not the case for everybody. So I go into that in the book. Be very careful. You don't have to go to AA. The great news about the world we live in now is there's tons of other options.
We've all heard about dry January, a chance to hit pause on drinking and reset habits and see how life feels without alcohol. But what if what you really need is a sober life? As a parent, it's easy to rationalize your drinking, telling yourself it helps you unwind after a hard day of taking care of everyone. But what if it's become a bigger problem than you're ready to admit? Well, my guest today is Chris Janssen. She's the author of Grace Yourself, How to Show Up for the Sober Life You Want. This is a tough topic. And I know for those out there listening who are kind of on the fence, they like their 2 glasses of wine at the end of the day because life is hard. You know, it might push some buttons in them, but that's okay. That's okay. That's kind of what we're here to do. You shared how you once convinced yourself that you could handle parenting and drinking. You even rationalized habits that felt manageable. What was the turning point for you that made you realize, oh, I have a problem I need to change?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned pushing buttons and the point of my book and my coaching is not to push buttons. I don't, it's called Grace Yourself. I don't want people to feel like we're telling them what they can't do, right? I'd love for people to ask these questions. Is this behavior or thought or pattern that I am engaged in, whether it's drinking or anything else, leading me to the life I want, right? And that question, because sometimes a drink to unwind for some people is not a problem, right? So that's an important question. So if the behavior in question is not leading us toward where we want to go, that's when it's time to look at it. And that's where the exercises in the book will come in. For me, that happened when I was 37. I'm 55 today. When I was 37, the kids were babies. They're all in their 20s now. I have 3 grown kids. I really didn't know. The world was different. This was 2007. We didn't have mocktails and people living alcohol free for health reasons. It was really, if you can't drink, you have a problem. It was kind of like alcoholics or not, right? It was black and white. And so it was really confusing for me because I knew in my gut this thing was about to kill me. It was not leading me in the direction I wanted to go. It was not allowing me to be the wife and the mom I knew I was. And yet I really didn't know what to do about it because I asked a doctor about it. I asked a therapist about it. I asked my pastor about it. I asked my husband about it, my good friends about it. And the answers were all, oh, honey, you don't have a problem, right? Because I looked like I was holding it all together from the outside, and I was. I'm a high achiever. My kids were well dressed and had their teeth brushed, and everyone got to school on time. And it just was, for me at that time, it was personal. It was at home. It was when I was cleaning up from dinner. I put the kids to bed, and then the drinking was in secret that way. So I do believe it would have become publicly visible had it kept going. But it was that nudging, that in my gut knowing I can't keep doing this. So that's what it was for me.
Did you ever drink during the day when the kids were around?
Not unless if it was a, acceptable, for listeners, I'm doing air quotes, acceptable social, party or something during the day, but not by myself during the day. I didn't know, not yet.
Was there a time when you felt the kids could see you differently than you normally were? Because a lot of times kids will look at their parents and know, ooh, something's off here, even if they're little and they might not know it's drinking or that you're tipsy or whatever. But was there ever a time when you think your kids saw that you weren't your genuine self?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thankfully, very few. There were very few, and I'm not even sure if they remember that. I say my kids have never seen me drunk, and I'm very lucky. I'm not proud. I'm lucky. I got lucky that I got into recovery before that happened. But there were a few times that just gutted me, like reading my oldest, my son, a bedtime story. And at night when, after dinner, and I cleaned up the dishes and had wine, and he didn't like the smell on my breath. And it just, I was thinking, I don't know if that would have bothered everybody, right? It really bothered me because I knew I didn't like it either. I knew it was a problem.
So did you drink every day?
I did not. No. And that's important for people to know. We don't have to fit into a formula or meet these questions we sometimes read on the internet, right? Are you an alcoholic or are you not? Do you drink every day? It can look really different for everybody. For me, it wasn't every day. It was after 5 o'clock. It was not when I was pregnant or nursing. It was, but when I wasn't actually physically drinking, you bet it had a hold on me. So the stronghold was 24/7.
So you wanted to drink?
Oh. I would want to, yes. I was addicted to alcohol, so my body did want to drink. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's a difference. There's some people that can, have a couple of drinks, 3 nights a week and then not any for a few weeks. But I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. It's that sense that I'm looking forward to it. I need to have it. And if I don't have it, I'm going to be off a little bit. Is that how you felt?
I did. It's important to know though, I didn't feel that all the time. Like there were times I could go, I'd say enough is enough, and I'd quit for even a few months, and I'd be okay until I craved it again. I wasn't, I was white knuckling it and trying to use willpower and control. I think that was, and I was trying to do it by myself. That was before I found a sober community and learned how to do it in community. So all those things are true, but they weren't always true. I really want people to know we don't have to fit into a formula to know we have a problem. If there's something nagging and you feel like this is not leading me where I want my life to go, and it's a gut feeling, even if everybody else is telling you otherwise and saying you're okay, and maybe friends don't want you to give it up, right? Then listen to that gut instinct.
That's true, because it's kind of like alcohol and dessert. If you're sitting there at a table full of people and they want to drink, they say, well, are you going to have a drink like dessert? Well, are you going to have dessert that if you don't, then they won't? And there is some pressure there. And if you say, no, I'm not going to drink, people look at you like, well, what's wrong? And are you okay? So would it be fair to say that you lived sort of a secret life, or you had the secret from other people that even you withheld from your husband?
Super fair to say that. Yes. Mm-hmm. I did. I was in my thought life, in my head. I had this terrible limiting belief that I was a monster, because I thought, how can I do all these things at a high level? I was an athlete. I was a mom, a wife, room mom, Bible study facilitator, for goodness sake, like all these things. And then how could I not have this one area? How could I not drink socially without it creating this? Because what happens for people like me is we have even one sip and it creates this obsession for more sips. And it's just a miserable place to live in your head, because after that one sip, it's just never enough. You're just scheming of ways to not only get more, but also how to control it. And it's not a controllable thing. It's a toxic, addictive substance. And for people like me, that obsession is really the difference of someone like me or someone, say, like my husband, who he has a sip, or he could drink half a beer and then leave it there and not think about it again for the rest of the week, So we call that in recovery a normie. He's a normie, a normal drinker. And I am not. It just creates an obsession. It's like an allergy. And that's really the best way to explain it. I have a chapter in the book called Allergy. And so we're not all created the same. We all have different wiring. And some of us, whatever anybody wants to call that, I have no problem with people labeling it alcoholic or not alcoholic. Whatever is going to work to help you move into this solution is what works.
So can you share with everyone where you started saying, okay, I need to be sober. I don't want to do this anymore. What was your next step? When you finally figured out, okay, I don't want this anymore, then what did you do?
Mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting, so my first drink, I was a freshman in high school. It was socially acceptable. I was at a party and my friends drank alcohol. So I would say that this internal thought life that I'm talking about started immediately. I knew, one, it made me feel okay and took away all this kind of overthinking and perfectionism that I grew up with as a kid. But it also, I didn't like it. It made me feel shame and guilt, and I knew it wasn't good for me. So it really started wanting to quit started as soon as I started drinking. So I drank for from I was a freshman, so I was 14 till age 37 when I realized enough is enough. Right? I can't live in my head like this anymore. Trying to quit, thinking I'm weird for not being able to drink. Again, I didn't have a lot of examples of people that had the problem I have, right? It was like, I just thought everyone else was stronger and more disciplined than me, which isn't the case. And so at 37, that's when, enough was enough. And it wasn't any huge event that happened. There'd certainly been times in my life when I'd been more drunk than I was that day, but it just, for whatever reason, enough was enough. I, in the middle of the night, looked up a recovery meeting, which I was really scared to go to because I didn't know anyone who attended them. And I thought they were for kind of drunks living under a bridge, drinking from a paper bag, not people like me. But I went to a women's meeting, and a woman in the group walked up to me and said, because she knew it was my first time, I was like a deer in the headlights. She said, "It's not your fault. You have a condition. It's like an allergy, and you never have to have another drink again. And stick around, stay here, and we're going to show you how." And in that moment, and again, this is just for me, my story, but all that shame and guilt I'd been carrying since I was 14 years old, it just flew off my shoulders, because I really believed I was a monster because I couldn't quit. So in that moment, I believed, yeah, the fact is still true. I'm addicted, but I'm worthy. I'm deserving of community. I'm deserving of this solution, and I'm deserving of recovery because I'm addicted. And that shifted.
I think that's a great point, because I think that whenever you live with something, alcohol, that has such a hold over you, it's like it owns you, it controls you, which in and of itself is a horrible feeling. And then feeling like there's something bigger and stronger in you that you can't break free from. There is a tremendous amount of shame. And I applaud you and everybody I've known who's gone to AA to say, wait a minute, I'm not a bad person. This is a condition. This is what it is. It's just like diabetes. So I have to face it, and I have to deal with it. What did it feel like when that lady said, "I'm going to help you. You're never going to have a drink again"? Did that make you scared because you'd been drinking so much?
Right. That's such a good question, because some people, and this is important for listeners to know, some people come into recovery and hear, "I never get to have another drink again." I was exhausted. I felt I never have to have another drink again, because I was trying on my own to quit, and I had no idea how to do that. I don't know how to quit an addiction. I needed help. And so, but if you go into recovery and hear, "I never get to have another drink again," that's okay too. We all come in where we're at, right? And a lot of people come in feel like, because maybe they didn't come in early like I did, and they come in because maybe they're court ordered, maybe they got a DUI, maybe they already lost their family and they weren't as lucky as I was, right? And so they're forced to go into recovery and get clean. Well, they will. I know I've heard just thousands of these stories. It will, if you stick around, it will shift to, "I never have to have another drink again." So I just want to encourage people, even if you're not where I was, where I'm ready for it. I want to be here. I want you to tell me the solution. Even if you're not there yet, it will come. We act as if we become willing to be willing to let go of it.
In my experience, there's a lot of fear around admitting that you have, an issue or that controls you. And B, you just really don't want to, I guess there's a sense that you're going to go to AA and you're going to feel like a fraud because they have a problem and you don't. I mean, I've seen this been a huge issue in marriages where everybody knows there's a problem, who drank more than you did, and yet the person said, "No, I'm not. I'm not." Some days, parenting feels like chasing moments that never quite land. You ask a question, they shrug. You try again, they look at their screen. And you wonder, why is this so hard? That's why I love FamGabs. It's a 70-card deck created by a child therapist who spent 16 years working directly with families, helping parents and kids break through the awkward one-word answers and really connect. The questions are open-ended, thoughtfully chosen, and designed to get your child talking and keep the conversation going. There are even bonus cards just for parents to help you build your confidence in your connection toolbox. If you've ever wished for a better way to understand your child or just to have more meaningful conversations as a family, FamGabs is such a gift. Search FamGabs on Amazon and use promo code DrMegPod during checkout to get 10% off your order. That's FamGabs on Amazon. Use promo code Dr. Meg Pod and get 10% off your order. I've had so many parents say, Dr. Meg, my child is bright, but they're struggling in school and I don't know what to do. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And that's why I'm excited to share K-12 powered schools with you. K-12 offers tuition-free, accredited online public education for grades K through 12. These programs let kids learn at their own pace with built-in flexibility that supports different learning styles and family needs. And unlike homeschooling, K-12 provides certified teachers who guide your child's education online. The lessons are engaging, the technology is hands-on, and your child gets real opportunities to connect with clubs, extracurriculars, and even in-person events. As a mom, a grandmother, and a pediatrician, I know how powerful it is when education meets your child's needs instead of the other way around. So if you're looking for something different, something better, go to k12.com/Dr. Meg and find a tuition-free K-12 powered school near you. That's k12.com/DRMEG, all caps. Was there ever a time when you were in recovery or AA where you felt, gee whiz, these people are so much worse off than I am. Maybe I'm okay. Or did that just dissolve when you first went in there?
It's very common to feel that way. I didn't have it because I knew. And I met people that had my story. So I would say stick around till you hear someone that has a story similar to yours. There's hundreds of people in there who were the housewife at home, like I was. We even have a story in the big book called The Housewife at Home. So, and I want to say too, AA is not for everybody. It worked for me. I do identify as an alcoholic because to me, it says, oh, I'm this thing. It's like my sons are allergic to nuts, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, they're allergic to nuts. So now we know what to do. We're going to carry an EpiPen and not eat nuts. And we have set up a lifestyle that around that, right? So to me, it's like that. Like it really helped for someone to label me. That's not the case for everybody. So I go into that in the book. Be very careful. You don't have to go to AA. The great news about the world we live in now is there's tons of other options. We have online and in-person support communities. It doesn't have to be a 12-step program. It can be faith-based or not faith-based. I would say, though, be open-minded. There is a stigma still attached to 12-step programs, and it's not true anymore. They say it's a cult. They say they're going to shove religion down your throat. They say all these things, and none of those are true. It's full of wonderful, sober superstars doing life together. And if one meeting does feel like that, try another one or try a different type of group, but look for the similarities, not the differences, and you will find a community. I, as a coach, I call BS on people that say they can't find their community. I just think it's an excuse.
I think so too. Let's talk about your family in the midst of all this. So when you started recovering and you started getting sober, did you tell them right away, or how did your husband respond?
Well, I'll start with my husband. I told him that afternoon. I'd gone to a meeting that I looked up online, that women's meeting. I went in the morning. I think it was 8:00. Then I asked him to meet me for lunch. He was working, and I went over to where he was working. We met for lunch, and I showed him my 24-hour chip, and I said, I'm going to go to this group. And he's the most positive, optimistic, supportive person I've ever met, really. We've been married almost 30 years. But he said, good. I don't think, like, it was very different than the way he is now. Now he is like my recovery partner. I mean, he's not in recovery, but he really gets it. But you have to realize neither one of us understood addiction or recovery. We were in our 20s and I was 37. That's right. And he said, okay, good. And I think he even maybe said something like, kind of make me proud or something, which made me angry a little bit, because I thought, here I am fighting for my life, and this isn't about, like, I really am powerless here. And so he, over time and through my working this program, came to learn. I shared everything with him, and he now knows it's not about, go there and make me proud. It's about go there and admit your powerlessness.
Exactly. Yeah.
And accept help. And he totally gets that now. But it was hard. So I would say that to anybody going for the first time, your loved ones they might not get it. And that's okay. They love you, and you've really got to put yourself first in this situation and go anyway. And it doesn't need to be okay with everybody else. And if it's not, there's anonymous programs. You don't have to tell people. My family, at the time, my parents and brother, they kind of didn't, they thought it was stigmatic. They didn't want to hear about it. So I just never talk to them about it. And it's funny now, because I have this book coming out where I share all of this. I share my whole story, and everyone's so supportive. It's wonderful. The family's very supportive. I just don't think they knew. I don't think people knew. Like, some of my best friends, I had no idea that you were in recovery the past.
Well, I think
because I didn't talk about it.
The ability to keep it secret and to hide is really phenomenal. I knew a woman who drank all day long, and from the morning until she went to bed, drove her kids around, never looked drunk, but her body just learned to adapt to that. And then when she let people know, I'm sure her kids or husband knew, because they just know when you're not yourself. But people were very surprised, and they do the ooh, ah, and I'm sure they look down on her a little bit more, but she's a generation older than we are, and I'm sure it was a lot harder. So when did you tell your kids you were doing this, or didn't you?
Well, they were pretty young. So the oldest two, so the first two are a year and a half apart, and then there's 3 years before the little guy. So I didn't even bring it up with the youngest, because he wouldn't have understood. But there was a time after probably a year that I'd been in the program, they were running an errand with me, the older two, and I stopped by my meeting place. It's right there in our hometown. And I was getting a book or something from my sponsor. And they said, what is this? Because they grew up going to church, and it was actually in a church. So they just thought, this isn't our church. What is this? It's church, but it's not church. And so I just decided to tell them. I said, this is a place people go that need help to stop drinking. And I've been coming here. And they were confused. They were like, I think my son, they were pretty little. He goes, alcohol, that's bad, And so I kind of downplayed it and didn't really bring it up again. So really, my kids just thought of me as mom doesn't drink alcohol. Right. And I don't think they really thought of it that much. I mean, I don't think those older two remembered that. I don't even know if they remember that day.
It's probably quite different if they were teenagers and you were telling them. Let's talk about drinking in kids, because I think that's a huge issue for a lot of parents, worrying about their high schoolers drinking or getting, pressured into drinking. And of course, there's drugs as well. So what are the signs, looking back on yourself, if you were outside of yourself and you were your parent, what signs should parents look for as far as seeing that their child might have a drinking problem?
Sneaking and lying. Sneaking. I think sneaking and the art of hiding is... People get really good at hiding things when they're hiding an addiction. So they might hide things in other areas of life. And then, I think parents of young kids these days are probably more well-versed than I am at seeing kind of those physical signs, right? But if we know our kids, so it is tricky though, because they also are just nuts when the hormones come, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, is this drugs or hormones?
It is. And,
So,
and if you think back about you and how well you hid it, I mean, teenagers can probably hide it as well. So when your kids sort of hit puberty, or talk to us about how you talk to your kids about drinking.
Yeah, our kids know that there's nothing off limits, that their dad and I, they can't startle us. And so it was important when they were old enough, I did share my addiction story and my sobriety story, and they know everything. There's really nothing now that they're old enough. I would just caution people when kids are like, I think I told them this is an alcohol recovery meeting when they were a little too young for it. So I kind of tabled it for a while, but now that they're all older, we talk about it. And so, of course, they have struggles. Some of them, it's not a substance, but it's digital screen time, or it's controlling thoughts, or it's anxiety or depression, or these things that we talk about, all of it. Like they just know that there's nothing they can do or say that will shock us, and that we won't just grace them over and love them and look like partner with them in the solution. And I think there's zero judgment.
I think you have to say that to them, because a lot of times parents go, oh, my kids know that they can come to me and talk about anything. Well, maybe not, because they're afraid of your response. Kids don't want their parents to be disappointed in them. They don't want them to make them change their lives or change their friend group, because often I see a lot of behaviors can sort of mimic your friend group behaviors. And if you're hanging around with kids who are, smoking weed or vaping or drinking, they're going to probably do that too. So when would you recommend parents start talking to their kids, and how do they keep the conversation going?
Yeah, it depends on the kid of when, right? Their maturity level. And I think we'll know that as parents when they're old enough to know. And not all kids, like we have one kid who just never has considered drinking. It's just or drugs. So it's not a thing, but we still had the talk, like when he was, in high school, really. And then before college, because that kid went to college. So it's like, just asking questions. We ask a lot of open-ended questions. We don't ask yes and no questions. We open it up and then listen. And so through that, we realize this kid just doesn't want to drink, or it's just not fun for him. So that's going to be a different conversation than the kid that does love to have beer at a party.
So if you know that your child, your high schooler, is going off to college or even senior year in high school, and they're the kind of kid that would drink and would go over the edge, how do you help a child like that, or how do you help prevent drinking too much if it can be prevented? What do you say to them?
I think open-ended questions again. Maybe wait till the next day. Maybe, definitely not right before the party, or not while they're not when they just got home and you could tell that they're buzzed, right? Wait till the next day and ask open-ended questions. How do you feel? But not in a shaming way. How do you feel? How, is this the year you want for yourself this year in school? Are these the friends? How do your friends make you feel? Do you feel, let's check in with your self-worth. And do you feel valuable? Are your friends making you feel valuable? Does this behavior make you feel worthy?
So do you broach the topic at all? I'm concerned about how you're feeling, because I noticed when you came home last night, you'd been drinking.
Yeah, you can do that.
So you do tell them you acknowledge there's a problem because they have been drinking? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In a kind,
of course,
shame-free way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then when kids are going off to college, and we know that freshman year at almost any college, there's a lot of drinking. And we also know that many girls, I've had this happen. Girls will go off to college and then they get their drink spiked with something. And, that's a very dangerous situation. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that? What do you tell your kids when they go off to college? Watch for this or do this or stay away from this, or is there any advice you give them specifically about going off to college?
Yeah. Well, we took our daughter out to dinner the week before we dropped her off, and because she is a girl, and we just it's kind of not scare tactic in a bad way. We have humor in our family, so it helped that we already had a really good relationship with her, but we just went straight into, roofies and never taking a drink for the whole thing. Right. And we overdid it to where she's like, Mom and Dad, I know. And, but ultimately she felt very loved and cared about. Right. We said, okay, we know, let us finish. We're going to lay this all out there because you can't be too careful. And so I think it would be better to embarrass her a little bit at dinner. It was just the three of us at dinner than to have something go wrong and not have said it.
And I think there's nothing wrong with scaring kids a little bit. I mean, in order to respect something, you think, wow, making a decision to do that is a big deal. And, that's what I try to do with a lot of patients in my practice who are going off to college. My guest today has been Chris Janssen. She's the author of Grace Yourself: How to Show Up for the Sober Life You Want. Chris, this has been very, very eye-opening. How can people get hold of you, access your coaching?
Thank you. This has been great. ChrisJanssenCoaching.com is my website. And I always keep that updated with my services. That's where you could contact me for coaching. Please get my new book, Grace Yourself: How to Show Up for the Sober Life You Want. It launches February 18th, where books are sold, and it's available now for pre-order. Pre-orders are really helpful for authors.
Awesome. Well, there are a whole lot of people out there who are going to need it. Again, I'm just hopeful that this show sort of, opens some parents' eyes to maybe something they're struggling with, or help them at least help their kids, because it's a real problem out there.